Mr. Nose here. We're starting right at the beginning. This video covers atomic structure for Paper 1 AQA GCSE Chemistry. Everything else you learn in chemistry builds on this, so if this topic makes sense, the rest of the course becomes much less painful. An atom is the smallest part of an element that can exist on its own. Everything you can see, touch, or breathe is made up of atoms. Different elements have different atoms, which is why substances behave differently. Atoms aren't solid balls. They have a tiny dense center called a nucleus, and electrons moving all around it. Most of an atom is actually empty space. Atoms are made of three smaller particles called subatomic particles. Protons and neutrons are found in the nucleus, whilst electrons move around in shells. Protons are positive, neutrons have no charge, and electrons are negative. The important thing to notice is that electrons have almost no mass compared to protons and neutrons. Each of the subatomic particles has a different charge, as shown here. This matters later when we talk about ions, but for now, just focus on knowing which particle has which charge. The atomic number is one of the most important ideas in chemistry. It tells you how many protons are in the nucleus. Every element has a different number of protons, which is what makes one element different from another. Always remember, if the atomic number is 6, the atom has 6 protons. Let's focus on the mass number. The mass number tells you how heavy the nucleus is. That's important because almost all of an atom's mass is packed into the nucleus. In a neutral atom, the number of protons is the same as the number of electrons. But when we're working out the mass number, electrons don't matter. This is because they're so light that we ignore them completely. So the mass number is simply the number of protons plus neutrons. For example, if an atom has 6 protons and 6 neutrons, you just add them together to get a mass number of 12. Okay, this is one of those questions that comes up again and again in GCSE exams. So the key thing here is learning the method, not memorizing the numbers. We always start with the atomic number. The atomic number tells you the number of protons. So if the atomic number is 17, the atom has 17 protons. Now look carefully at the wording of this question. It says an atom, not an ion. That tells us the atom is neutral, which means the number of electrons must be the same as the number of protons. So if we have 17 protons, we must also have 17 electrons. Finally, we deal with neutrons. The mass number counts the number of protons and neutrons together. So to find the number of neutrons, we subtract the atomic number from the mass number. That's 35 minus 17, which gives us 18 neutrons. So putting it all together, this atom has 17 protons, 17 electrons, and 18 neutrons. Always start with protons, check whether the atom is neutral, then finish with neutrons. If you follow that order every time, you won't go wrong. Electrons don't just sit randomly around the nucleus, they're arranged in shells, which are sometimes called energy levels. These shells fill in a specific order, starting from the one closest to the nucleus and then work outwards. So the inner shell fills first, then the next one, then the next. When you see diagrams building outwards like this, that's exactly what's happening. This part is important. At GCSE level, you only need to know the electron capacities for the first 3 shells. The first shell holds 2 electrons, the second shell holds 8 electrons, and for the elements you study at GCSE, the third shell also holds 8 electrons. So effectively, the pattern you need is 2, 8, 8. That's it. You are not required to memorize larger shell capacities like 18 or 32. Those come later at A level. For GCSE, you only need to be writing configurations for elements up to the atomic number of 20. So in every exam question you see, 288 is all you need. Let's look at an example. Sodium has 11 electrons. We fill the shell from the inside out. The first shell takes 2 electrons, the second shell takes 8, and that leaves 1 electron in the third shell. So sodium's electronic structure is written as 281. Before we finish, let's summarize what you actually need to remember. Atoms contain protons, neutrons, and electrons. The atomic number tells you how many protons there are. The mass number tells you the number of protons plus neutrons. And electrons fill in shells in the pattern 288. If you can explain that clearly to someone, you're in a very good position at GCSE Chemistry. That's the end of atomic structure. Make sure this topic feels solid before moving on, because everything else builds on this foundation. In the next video, we'll move on to isotopes, ions, and relative atomic mass. Mr. Knows, knowledge beats luck.